Hey freedom fighters, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet, brought to you by Anarchapulco, the world's largest anarcho-capitalist conference, coming up February 19th to 21st here in Acapulco, Mexico, right behind me on the beach. And I have a great guest, actually a past speaker at Anarchapulco this year in 2015, Lauren Rumpler, also known in the past as Objectivist Girl, and she still does her podcast, The True Objective, and she just came out with a great documentary as well, which is called The Resistance?
The Voice of Resistance.
The Voice of Resistance. Actually, before we get started, I'm going to just play the trailer for it right now.
Life. What does it mean? That's the ultimate question. Are we wired for misery or happiness? Are we doomed to stand naked in a pool of our own devices, dared to fearlessly claim who we are inside, destined to have that ripped, suffocated, and choked from our very fiber? Or are we fated for freedom, for virtuosity, for love, for joy, for insurmountable experience that seeps into our pores and douses us with glorious wonderment? At this moment, we are bound for the former as a human race, but there are a small few that will escape the trap of human suffering by viewing the shadows on the wall as only mere shadows of the reality of what is to come and what is. The question is, which are you?
So as you can see, she's full of energy and interesting ideas, and so we're going to talk to her about what gave her the inspiration for that. And of course, she's been on Anarchast before, so I don't have to ask you how you became an anarchist. But Lauren, tell us a little bit about the documentary you just created.
So the documentary is a combination of a few things going on in my life. So I started taking martial arts and doing a lot of meditation and a lot of soul searching for myself because I'm somebody very interested in personal growth and personal liberation. And I became that way kind of through my martial arts. I study a style of Kung Fu. I also study a style called Ili Chan, and for those who are not familiar with Ili Chan, which is going to be most people, it's like Tai Chi. It's an internal art, and it is very meditative, and it's good for your joints and protecting your body from harm. So it's a very healthy practice. I also do a little bit of Qigong, and I took jiu-jitsu for a while, but gave that up. And I take weapons training as well. So I study stick, sword, knife, whip, and a few other random staff, different things, and of course tomahawk. So
the whip one sounds interesting.
Yes, whip is really fun. It's my personal favorite. I actually have a video on my channel of me doing my whip practice, which is really fun. And so what got me into martial arts was kind of a realization that I wanted to be more, and I wanted to do more with myself and with my physical being. And I wanted to be able to defend myself, first of all, but also I wanted to feel freedom through my movement. And what I found was so much deeper than that. I found that we can become free in our minds and in our hearts, and which is so much more empowering than our fight to overthrow the government. As much as I would love to end the government, there is some things in our life that are much worse than the government, which is our own personal tyranny over ourselves. And I found that this tyranny is very strong through doing martial arts because of the experience that I had with it. Because I realized that there was freedom behind all the habit and biases and indoctrination that we let into our minds throughout the years. And so this experience culminated into me reading a book called The Art of War. The War of Art. The War of Art. I do that every time. I have read the Art of War, but The War of Art is a different book, and it talks about how there's a voice inside of our heads, and we call this the bitch voice. And this voice tells us that we can't do things and that we suck and that we're going to fail at everything we ever try and everything we ever want. But it only goes off when it's something that you're really passionate about and really care about. This voice only appears when it's something pushing the envelope. So if I want to get up in the morning and brush my teeth, I'm not going to hear the voice of resistance. But if I want to get up an hour earlier to go to the gym and get into shape, one of the things the voice fights is anything in the pursuit of tighter abdominals. So if I want to look better and feel better, the voice of resistance is going to fight me all of the way. And there's several other things that the voice resists against, like any pursuit in art, any pursuit in charity, any activism, anything for self-betterment, anything that questions our biases, indoctrination, or habits, and several other things. And through this study, I have found several things that have quieted that voice and brought my voice of rebellion against resistance to a roar. And I wanted to share that through my documentary and through more episodes that I will be doing about the types of activities that we can do to quiet the voice of resistance. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Sounds like you've been doing a lot of soul searching is what you've been doing, and sort of just trying to figure yourself out a little bit, which is what I've been doing, and I think what everyone should be trying to do. Everyone's trying to fix, as you pointed out, we're trying to fix all these big worldly problems, but we need to fix ourselves first, and to actually really figure out what's going on first. As you pointed out, there's so much indoctrination. Let me ask you, and you're talking about this voice, I don't know if you're talking about the indoctrination or brainwashing, or if you're talking just about the ego itself. What do you mean by the voice in your head?
So the voice in your head is the voice that tells you you can't do things. It's fear and anxiety and loathing, and it's self-loathing. And we all believe that we are certain things. And we believe that that is what makes us us, is our personality traits. And I wanted to share with the world that your personality traits are not what makes you you. You are still a unique and special snowflake, even if you change some of your personality traits in order to better your reality. So I am somebody that is, again, very dedicated to personal growth, always have been, but I've never been this serious about it, and I'm very serious about it now, because I do believe that it is the path to freedom. And that voice holds you back. It says, this is who I am. This is the way I am. Why won't the world just accept me? Why won't it just allow me to be who I am and shape itself around me? And that voice tears us down from being able to achieve our best possibilities and our best us. And so if you want to achieve your best you have to be willing to say, okay, I'm somebody that's very anxious. And what is this anxiety doing for my life? Well, it's not doing anything positive. So I need to work to become less anxious. And one of the things that you can exercise is meditation. And so it's about being able to reach inside and look at our personality traits from an objective perspective and being able to say, these personality traits do not serve the path and goals that I am pursuing, and I need to fix them. And that's really one of the biggest things about the voice of resistance is it will tell you that you are great just the way you are, and that the world is the problem, not you. And the voice is always telling you that the world is the problem. And the world is not the problem. You are your biggest problem. Put the government up against the voice of resistance. It doesn't even compare. You are your own worst enemy, and your fear and your indoctrination and your biases are going to keep you from achieving your dreams. The government doesn't even hold a candle.
Yeah, absolutely. Past Anarchast guest Rick Rule, who's a billionaire, often says that most of his, and I'd say the same thing, most of my gravest wounds have been self-inflicted. I think a lot of people don't really realize just how important it is to begin to look inward rather than outward for answers and for figuring out what's going on and figuring out what you are. So many of us look for outside sort of impotence, or not impotence, outside influences to sort of say what we are and things like that. And I've been doing a lot of that myself. I've been really getting into things like meditation. I've also been trying all kinds of different psychedelics, trying to expand my mind and my consciousness. And I found it's been incredibly helpful.
Yes, I am a strong believer in a shroom trip once every 4 months. So I try to quarterly have a shroom trip to kind of get through some of the emotions, because often we get into situations where emotions are running high, but we need to make a decision and deal with things that are going on in our life right now. And so we don't have time to deal with our emotions in the way that is productive for our body and soul. And so to take that time and sort through those past emotions that are causing us to feel heavy and weighted down really makes you feel light and free. And I'm a big advocate of doing shrooms to kind of work through those moments that we have to shove our emotions aside. And they happen far too often. And we don't like to admit them. But, if you've ever had a stressful day at work and you just needed to focus on the project at hand and you've ignored how you felt, if you wanted to cry or you wanted to scream or you wanted to just run away from your job, all of those are emotions that we are ignoring in order to get the job done, to serve our higher purposes and our higher goals. And when we don't take that time out, we weigh ourselves down with emotions that have not been properly sorted through. One of the things that I recently learned about and am very interested in, and probably will practice this very soon, is relationship funerals. So when we break up with someone or a relationship ends, even a friendship or a loved one dies, we should have a relationship funeral. And other humans meet certain needs in our life. And this is I learned this through nonviolent communication training, and because I'm training to become a certified nonviolent communication coach. And
I didn't know you could be certified to do that. That's very interesting.
Yes, I'm really excited about it. I'm so passionate about nonviolent communication. I think it just creates a more beautiful world when we communicate with exactness. And we are, what's the word? The Four Agreements uses it. We are impeccable with our language. And so if you haven't read the Four Agreements, it's a really good book, and it talks about the values that we should be having as a society, and nonviolent communication definitely meets quite a few of them. But through nonviolent communication, I learned about relationship funerals, and human beings meet certain needs for us, and we have certain emotions about those needs, and we have emotions about unmet needs. And so when a need is not met, we often feel anguished or, depressed, or several other feelings within the potential array of feelings that we can feel as human beings. And when humans don't meet our needs that we expect them to meet, we often feel disappointed. And we get sad when a relationship ends because that person was meeting those needs for us. And so whether that's support or warmth or love or comfort or companionship or shared reality, we have this desire to have these needs met. And when the relationship ends, the met needs die. And they become unmet needs. And so it's very helpful to take time to look at what the needs are and why you are feeling angry and sad. It's because of these unmet needs. And so it's very productive to take the time to mourn those unmet needs and then be able to consider how you're going to meet those needs without this person. And so whether it's, turning to friends or turning to yourself, and there's no weakness in turning to friends, but it's important for us to consider our emotions and consider the value that we place in them, because I know that I, for a long time, practiced a philosophy that believed that emotions, well, it didn't believe that emotions were negative. I misunderstood it. But emotions have a value and a time and a place, and they're good for evaluating reality if you know how to properly read and understand them. And I think that nonviolent communication does a world of good in taking emotions, something that is very difficult to translate into language, which is a logic idea, and being able to allow you to explore those emotions in a rational environment where they're not just emotions, they're unmet needs, and they're things that we need as human beings. They have a logical basis. And I really love nonviolent communication. And, it played a lot into this documentary, the idea of being able to harness our emotions for good. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So many interesting things you brought up. I've been giving a lot of thought to a lot of these things as well. And one of the things you're talking about with just dealing with your own issues and things like that in our society, in our culture, especially in the U.S. where you are, generally Western culture. It seems that most people just don't deal at all with any of their issues at all. It seems like, if anything, they just hold it all in, and then they either just freak out at some point, or they just get really drunk or whatever. I think that's a major issue with the Western culture, is that it doesn't seem to have a lot of things like this where people are trying to fix the problems they have. And it's interesting that you came to some of this through martial arts, which of course came from the East. And I've actually heard this from a few people recently when I've been talking about how I'm getting into spirituality and into discovering myself and into fixing whatever emotional issues I might have, or delving deeper into myself and understanding better what reality is. A few people have said to me that they actually came to it through martial arts and through the meditation that they did through martial arts as well, that really brought that to them. But in the Western world, of course, it's things like football and hockey, and it's like, okay, you feel angry, go out there and hit somebody. It's like, well, that has its own purpose as well. It has its own role. It releases energy, but very rarely do we ever talk about these real issues. And then, of course, in the U.S., even worse, if you do feel a little depressed, they give you a bunch of chemicals that are highly dangerous. They usually have you shooting up some sort of a public facility pretty quickly afterwards, and have you suicidal tendencies as one of the side effects of antidepressants. So once again, the whole Western society in general, not all, of course, because you are in the Western society and you're talking about these things, but as a generality, it has a lot further to go in terms of being able to deal with real issues like this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I'm not going to say that I'm totally innocent of it. I'm somebody that enjoys being able to go to my gym and punch on a punching bag when I'm feeling really upset. But,
Which isn't a bad thing to do at all.
No, it's not.
That's a good release of energy, at least.
But it's about what you do after that. It's about if you can say to yourself, okay, I'm all good, I'm just going to move on, when inside there is still unmet needs, because every feeling is connected to a need. And so we don't just have random feelings. We have feelings because of these needs that we have as human beings. They're purely logical emotions. And so it's important to be able to clear your head. I think going and punching on the punching bag, or, sitting down and watching sports, I wouldn't say necessarily getting drunk is very helpful, because then you can't do step 2. But step 2 is just as important, if not more important, because that's the step where you sit down and you say, okay, why am I feeling this way? What needs are not being met that are making me feel negative emotions? And if you can get through that process, you're going to heal so much faster, because you're going to be able to say, okay, these are my unmet needs, and what needs and these needs need to be met in order for me to stop feeling these emotions. So I want to get rid of these emotions. What are some things that I can do to meet these needs? And so, one of the ones that I often feel need for and feel anguish over is support. I have always had, I've talked about my bullying in my past and the abuse and everything. And I have always felt the need for support because when I have a goal set down, often my goals are very huge. I have very big goals for my life. And it's difficult for just me to support myself in my goals because there's these moments where the voice of resistance comes in and says, no, you can't do it. And so when you have that support system, when you have people in your life that are able to say, you can do it when you feel like you can't say that to yourself anymore, it's a really important thing to have that support system. We need that as human beings. And that has been a big need for me. And seeking out my circle of people that can support me in my rough times has been a lifelong journey. And I feel like I've got a pretty decent handle on it. I know who to reach out to in certain situations. And, that need feels relatively met, especially at this time. And so I feel less pain and anger when that voice comes up and says I can't do it, because I know I already have a game plan. I already know exactly what to do when the voice comes up. And that's what you need to do, is you need to prepare for the voice. The voice will come up anytime you try and do anything relatively outside your comfort zone. Anything that you feel passionate about, that voice is going to come into your head and it's going to say, no, you can't do it. You're going to fail. All these people are going to hate you and resent you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever your worst fears, the voice of resistance will use them against you. Whether it's like losing relationships or just feeling bad about yourself. The voice of resistance will target all of those fears and make them seem so inevitable. And as long as that's going on, you're never going to achieve your goals. And so I say, really make a plan for what you're going to do when the voice comes to fight you. Know your worst fears consciously so your subconscious doesn't kill you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about conscious and subconscious and the voice of resistance, I have been looking and reading a lot about all this sort of stuff, and I didn't really realize this probably even a month or two ago, but I think I agree with it now, and that is that your mind, the brain, the conscious mind that's thinking, and that voice of resistance that's always troublemaker, always causing problems, always putting obstacles in the way, always causing fear, always making you feel bad, all these sort of things. That's not you. It's part of you. It's part of your body, but that is not you. You are actually another. You are a soul. You are an entity, and you are in this body, as far as I can tell. And you do have this mind, and the mind is actually one of your biggest sort of enemies, or it can be one of your good friends if you know how to control it. But if you can't control it, that thing can have you running around and depressed and doing all kinds of stupid crap that doesn't help you out at all. Until you come upon that realization. And one of the books, just to let you know, that I've enjoyed was by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And just because the mind is always thinking about the past and the future. That's what it's never in the now. And it never wants you to be in the now, because the now is all there ever is. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are. And the past, that's gone. The future, who knows what's going to happen. But we are here in the now. And the mind always wants to think about the past, always wants to bring up the past, think about all the bad things in the past. And when you think about those things in the past, you get those emotions that you got in the past. So you think about something bad to happen, you feel like crap all of a sudden for no reason. It's stupid. And then your mind will go, oh, well, let's think about the future. What's going to happen if we don't do this? This is going to be terrible. We better, just, be very safe and careful and all this sort of stuff. And then it gets you all freaked out and panicked about and so I've really just, that's where the meditation I found has been really helpful, is just gets you into realizing that the mind is that's not you. You are much, much more than the mind, but the mind is a part of you, so you have to learn how to deal with it.
Yes, I totally agree. The mind, um, there's so much more to us than that voice. That voice is just the culmination of our past and our fears of the future, like you were saying. That voice is just our inner bitch. It just wants us to fail. And there's a part of us that is afraid of taking risks because we might fail. And whatever that fear of failure is, we all have a fear of failure. It's ingrained in us as human beings. And it comes from, and I talk about this in the video, it comes from a primitive time. So back in, if anybody here has ever seen The Croods, there's a line in The Croods that is always be afraid. And they never want anybody in their family to take risks because they might die. And all of the stories end, any story of exploring that the father tells ends with them dying. And anything new kills you. And so it's very much comes from this mentality of the Paleolithic era where everything was new and different and we were all trying to figure it all out, and fire was created and invented. But, all of the new things were scary and dangerous. And we often fall into that pre-programmed mentality that we found in the day, which was helpful for keeping us alive, was to be afraid. But now we don't have to live in a world where we're afraid of new things because we have a handle on these things.
And actually being afraid now actually causes most of the problems. Fear is the biggest problem in the world today.
Yes.
It causes all these wars and people believing in governments. They want a government to protect them because they're scared.
Right. And so it's your inner caveman saying, no, don't do that. That might kill you. And it really is. Like, I know that it sounds so goofy and so silly, but it's really your inner caveman just saying, don't do that or you'll die. And
you listen to this caveman. It's crazy.
Yes. Yes. And it's so funny because once we think about it, we realize, oh, that's so silly and illogical. Why are we giving in to a lower brain level, a brain that we are trying to escape from? And, some of us have picked up that this voice is a negative thing and we need to not give into it. But there are others that live among us that believe that this voice is protecting them still. And it's about evolution. It's about realizing that voice, we can evolve past that if we fight it enough as a society. We are capable of evolving past even having that brain. Because it's so, and we've just been giving into it ever since the Paleolithic era. That's the only reason that we haven't evolved past it. It's like the tail that we shed in the womb. We don't need it. We evolved past it. And so it's about realizing that we don't need this voice and that we're not going to give into it and we're going to fight resistance. And my follow-up videos will be all about fighting resistance and how to do that, between meditation to correct planning to using logic to, several other amazing tools, ones I'm still learning about. Every day I learn a new tool for getting past resistance and living free. And I'll tell you, I know that there are a lot of, and I say this at the end of my video, my fellow freedom fighters message, but it really needs to be said that there's far too much focus in our community on fighting the government and not enough on our personal lives. We believe as a community, at least, the ones close to me believe that you are the most important thing. The individual is the most important thing. And yet we use all of our energy and focus to continue to talk about the collective. And I have made a personal pledge to myself not to talk about it anymore, because I am done thinking about how the rest of the world is going to make it. I am busy helping my own future and my own self, and through doing this, we're going to free the world, because we'll finally have brains that are free. And until we have brains that are free, we can't possibly communicate to other people the message of freedom, because we don't think like a free people. We think like an enslaved people, and we are enslaved by our minds. And so, and the other thing that needs to be said is that there's all this focus on freedom and independence and liberty. And I don't know how many people have been listening to the news. I try not to do it very often, but every once in a while when I turn it on, I just
air quotes,
hear the hijack of those words. We have lost the fight for those words. And it's like objectivists saying the word selfish. We don't use the word selfish anymore, at least the ones of us who have studied PR realize that that word is not our word anymore. Rational self-interest. And so we need to look within and realize that there is really only one positive word that can't be hijacked in that way, and that is happiness. Happiness is not skewed. It's a feeling. It's something you know that you have. And most people in the world will tell you, if they are honest with themselves, that they are not happy. And so that's why I wanted to create this video, because I believe that happiness is what truly frees people. And we are all deeper than the freedom, deeper than the liberty, deeper than the fight to end government. We all want to be happy. And that's why we do all of these things, is to achieve happiness. So if we start by achieving happiness, if we show the world that this community can be happy because of the lifestyle they live, because of the values that they follow, then we are able to show and demonstrate to the world the message, the true message of freedom and liberty, which is personal happiness. And, I wrote another article a while back called The Emotional Appeal of I think it was of libertarianism or of freedom, the emotional appeal of freedom, I think. And so this article talked about how people fall in love with the experience of being a libertarian, not the ideas. It's an experience that you have that makes you want to fight for freedom and turns you into this amazing, activist. And so, we need to be searching for a way to appeal to other people with the message of freedom. And the message of freedom is dead. The message of happiness is alive in our hearts and will never die. We will always want to be happy. And if we can show the world that this is the way to happiness, we will win the story war. So...
very interesting. You've changed a lot in the last year. I can tell.
Yes.
You really have.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. I think you're always changing. That's one of the great things about you, is you're always thinking, looking, trying to improve, trying to find new information and to adjust your life to that new information. But I can tell a change in you. You seem a lot happier. And you brought up, most people aren't happy. And as you were saying that, I was just thinking, I'm happy right now just listening to you, because you've got such a great take on things, a great energy about you. And I think that's sort of to your point about trying to spread the idea of liberty and freedom. We can't do it very well if we're not happy ourselves. And when you have that happiness, and then we're not saying you're happy all the time, and no one's happy all the time. You'd have to be on some sort of special drugs all the time to do that. But, generally happy, generally at peace with yourself, that actually has, you can change entire areas just with one person who's like that, because people gravitate towards it because they want that too. And, I think that's sort of like the sort of underlying thing a little bit in society is no one is very happy, as you pointed out, but they do want to be happy. And when they see someone who is happy, they listen to them and they gravitate to that person, and they're like, what does this person know that I don't know?
What's your secret?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always great to talk to you. And I know you're going to be speaking at Anarchapulco 2016. You were very popular this year in 2015. So really looking forward to seeing you come down here. Why don't you let people know just a little bit, anything else you want to talk about? Don't let me cut you off at all. And let people know where they can find out more information on you, and let us know about you coming to Anarchapulco.
Yeah, I think the only really important thing to end the show with is what you were just saying. We're not always constantly happy, and neither am I. My Facebook friends often see me lose my happiness in a very real way. But I think And the thing that I've really been learning lately is that happiness isn't joy. And they're not the same thing. Joy is something that you feel temporarily. It's a temporary feeling of elation. And if you're feeling elated all the time, again, you're probably on some very special drugs. And if you're not sharing, that's not very nice. But share with me. But, it's not joy. And that's okay. Happiness is an overall state of well-being. And of course, we're going to slip out of it in a real way, but I can't begin to tell you how different my life has been since I've adopted this new philosophy. I don't get nearly as sad as I used to. Nothing can really, it's like a wall, it's like a barrier that you put around yourself. It's this, it's like a force field. You just put this wall of beautiful happiness around you, and things can get in, like little things can get in, but mostly it's just like they can't get close enough to really touch you. You can see them through the force field and they still make you upset and angry and sad, but ultimately you have this bubble of happiness that just can't be touched, and nothing can pop it. And everything has a more silver lining to it, because you're looking at the world in a different way. You're looking at the world in a proactive and exploratory way, instead of this is how it is, this is what I want, this is, and nothing changes. And people wonder what made this happiness for me and what has changed me so drastically. And it is the acceptance that I am not done changing, that the world is full of secrets that guard themselves that I can find and implement into my life, because truth brings us happiness. As much as it can bring us irritation and frustration, in the end, it brings us happiness once we accept that truth and don't fight it. And the less we fight it, the less irritation and frustration and unhappiness it brings. And so it's not about joy, and don't search for joy, because joy is fleeting and it will not last. Enjoy joy when you get it, but search for happiness, for that little force field that just protects you and just pings everything off that just is irrelevant. And so, finding that happiness is going to bring you just to this place of just pure, sheer bliss. And every time that you figure more out, it just strengthens the bubble and pushes things further away. And
one of the things, just to briefly add to that, is you're talking about how the happiness and I kind of lost I had a really good way to put it. What was your main point? I had a really good comment.
Joy is not happiness.
No, it was about not fighting reality, essentially.
Yes.
And one of the words that I like to use, and a lot of us use, is freedom fighter and things like that. But in actuality, fighting isn't how we're going to attain freedom, and we're not going to attain happiness by fighting either. And this goes back to the martial arts. I think there's definitely some good things in the martial arts and things like that apply to these ideas. And Luke Radowski, our good friend Luke Radowski, always likes to tell me, swim through. It's like water. When there's problems, you just glide through it. You don't try to fight it, because when you're trying to fight just a general problem, I'm not talking about a guy's like punching you in the face. If someone's punching you in the face, you have to do something pretty quickly to stop that. Yeah. But if it's like a general thing that's like you want to fight like government, you just, by actually going and fighting. Yeah, an idea. That's what it is. So by going out and actually fighting it, not necessarily physically, but like mentally fighting it with ideas, is not necessarily the best approach. The best approach is to accept that is the reality of what is right now, and to glide around it, to move around it, but the acceptance of that reality is also very important, and that's also part of what I've been learning about living in the now. Is a lot of people get upset. Something upsets them. but accept that you're upset. Realize that that is the state you are in. And in that moment, you actually become a lot more joyous and happy and peaceful because most of the issues that people have in that respect, I believe, is that they try to fight what is the reality of that situation at that moment in time. And by doing that, it just makes them more frustrated, more angry, or more sad. If you just accept, okay, this is happening, and I accept that, and then you just go from there. So there's so much to this that, as you mentioned, Lauren, that you're always looking for more information, and so am I. And I'm still very early in this search. I've really only in the last, I'd say, few months really been very focused on it. Before that, I was more focused, like you, on fighting the system and all that sort of stuff. And there's a place for that, but it's more just and a lot of what we're trying to build as well is, and a lot of things that you talk about and what we have at Anarchapulco is people trying to build new systems that don't have any violence or coercion in them. So instead of changing the old system or fighting the old system, which can be very frustrating, and cause you a lot of depression and a lot of anger, is to just create a new system that makes the old system obsolete. And that is how we create a better world, in my opinion, from what I've learned so far.
Yes, no, that's very important. And I think that, it's the most important thing to say is that we as libertarians believe in the value of being able to see and being able to be proven things. We believe in logic and reason. And we believe that, I don't want to speak for everybody, but the libertarians that I'm close with believe that the proof is in the pudding. And we can't sit around and keep saying that their system is failing and sucks when we don't have alternatives and we can't prove that these alternatives work better. And so I love Anarchapulco, and I'm excited to go again this year, and I want to be somebody that goes every year because I believe in building something else and showing the world that is what is possible. And if we show them, I truly believe freedom will win itself. We don't need to fight for freedom. We don't need to talk about freedom. We need to fight for happiness. I think that the story war, the thing we need to be talking about is the search for happiness instead of the search for freedom and liberty and all of these things that we have lost those words. We can't win them back. And we need to stop trying to fight reality and just accept reality. And one of the things you were talking about was flowing like water, and that's from the Tao Te Ching. And I would say that, if anything, Taoism has made a huge impact on who I've become and who I endeavor to be. And, Luke has it totally right. It's about flowing like water through reality, because the more you try and fight gravity, like Ayn Rand says, you can fight gravity, but you can't fight the effects of gravity. And so we need to accept reality for what it is and live within it instead of trying to fight against it. And the last thing that you brought up that I thought was worth commenting on was, how we spend all this time arguing with other people and convincing other people that we're right. And one of the things I talk about in my documentary is that it wasn't Morpheus telling Neo that the Matrix existed. It was him taking the red pill. And it all goes back to this proof is in the pudding. You can't tell someone liberty. You can't push someone into liberty. You can't talk someone into liberty. Liberty is an experience, and it comes through happiness. Personal liberty, we are so afraid of being free because we're so afraid of losing the battle we have with happiness. We're so afraid that outside of government control and outside of them taking care of everything, we will lose our path to happiness. And we're afraid that we are incapable of coming to our own happiness. And at this point, a lot of us are, because we spend our time working against this voice of resistance. in order to be able to pursue happiness. And until we can teach the world how to fight their own voice inside their head, telling them they can't do things, fighting their happiness, we are not going to see a free society. We're going to see a society that clings to every bit of tyranny that they can find in order to hope that they are going to have a little bit more of their time and money to be able to pursue their happiness. And they believe right now that the government is the best way to happiness, and we have to prove that it is not. And until we prove that, no one's going to listen to us.
Great way to end it, I think. Always inspirational. So why don't you just let people know where they can find out, tell people about where they can find out about the documentary, your show, and anything else you want them to know?
So The Voice of Resistance is an amazing documentary. It's my masterpiece at this point. And, I say at this point, but I'm sure Jeff wouldn't mind putting a link to it to YouTube. It's on my Lauren Rumpler Productions channel on YouTube. You can also add me on Facebook. We're having awesome, lively discussions on there about the fate of our world and humanity and happiness. So add me at facebook.com/Lauren Rumpler Productions. And of course, check out, I love my show, True Objective, because I bring on guests that know things that I don't know, and they teach me about the way the world is, and you get to learn along with me. So make sure that you check out the True Objective on talknetwork.com. Remember, knowledge is not for all men, but for those who seek it, so truly keep seeking.
That's great. And if you want to see Lauren in person, come down to Anarchapulco. That's, if you're listening on the radio, it's ANARCHAPULCO.com. I think I got that right. We'll have a link to it down below if you're on YouTube or somewhere on the internet. And that's February 19th to 21st. There's going to be lots of amazing people like Lauren. It seems like we're all gravitating in the same directions as well. I've really noticed that a lot more people are talking about these sort of things rather than, I think we're all done talking about how bad government is. I think if people don't know that by now, they're never going to know it. There's no point even talking about it anymore. And just moving on to making ourselves happy and improving ourselves and to create new systems that make the old systems obsolete, as I pointed out, and also by being leaders amongst others by showing that you can be happy and you can live free in a free world, and there is ways to do that, and by leading people in that direction, maybe we can get people more looking towards freedom. So check out Anarchapulco. If you like this video, like, subscribe, share down below. That's the only way that we can get this information out there. It really helps if you just hit like I know you're sitting there, I can see you, you're in your living room, you're on your couch, you're not wearing a shirt, hit like there on the bottom right, please. It just helps a lot. It just gets the video out there a lot more. That's advertising without having to pay for it, which is good because we don't have any budget whatsoever to do this show. And so that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
So theory of objectivist parenting started because, Ayn Rand told me, if you want to be a mom one day, if you want to be a mom, you better study it and make it a career, raising children in reality, which could be an interesting subject of conversation. I think it's one of the major mistakes that freedom-loving parents make. They raise respectful children, but they don't raise them in touch with reality, so they end up way better off than the kids who went to school.
It is, and that's why, that's why I never denigrate somebody using, any video medium to put ideas out there. I think YouTube is excellent. Are you gonna go on YouTube to learn stuff? Some YouTube video is gonna change your life? Well, yeah, because that's just the medium. It's what's in it, and information can be conveyed in a host of ways.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.